Hello, hello, happy Sunday. Okay, so I got a lot to say this week, so I'm going to jump right in. I hope this doesn't get too long, and I'm going to ask you up front to hang in there. Hang in there, please. You might want to turn this off. You might want to stop listening. Hang in there. I swear there's going to be joy. So, most of you that know me know that I'm a very progressive individual when it comes to politics. I make no apologies for that. Those are my beliefs. Those are my positions. What you also need to know about me is I love my conservative friends who have differing policy opinions. Get that? Differing policy opinions. Because you see, facts used to be facts. They weren't dismissed as fake news. So in my world, facts are still facts. There's no fake news. Facts are facts. And here's a fact that I believe to be true. And now this is where I might lose you, so please hang in there. I believe fascism is on the rise in America. Now, there's going to be joy, so please hang in there. But you got to hear me out. Oftentimes people hear that and they go, no, this is America. No, we're not fascist. No. Do you know what fascism is? Let's define it. Fascism is a form of authoritarian ultra-nationalism characterized by dictatorial power, forcible suppression of the opposition, and strong regimentation of society and the economy. Okay, so keep that in mind. Now, to be clear, let's just talk about a few things to get us all on the same page to see if my really harsh critique here of what's happening is true, right? You can disagree with me. I love that, but let's talk about it. So to be clear, and joy's coming, so don't forget. Keep hanging there, please. Please don't leave me. So unless you've had your head under a rock or your head up your ass, excuse my language, you now know that the last election was not stolen through fraud. Our former president's team, all Republicans, have testified under oath at length to establish this. It was a lie. There was no fraud. They knew that all along. What is that? That is the pursuit of dictatorial power by one person. Fascism. Okay? Now let's look at what some states have been doing or are doing. They've banned certain books. They've banned the teaching of our racist history because it makes people uncomfortable. Germany teaches all of its students about the Holocaust. Why? Because they don't want it to happen again. They want to educate their children. But we can't talk about racism in certain parts of this country. Florida has written a bill which bans teachers from essentially saying the word gay, right? They can't talk about that in a class of children, even if there's a kid who has two dads or two moms. Can't talk about it. Texas has criminalized parents who seek to get their children gender-affirming treatment. Transgendered kids who are being treated for gender-affirming with gender-affirming treatment, their parents are being criminalized in Texas. There are over 320 bills introduced in states this year about LGBTQ rights. Most recently, and these are all examples of what? Regimentation of society. Right? Okay? Those are all examples of that. So most recently, Roe v. Wade was overturned this week, as you know, and the government is now taking over the control of women and their bodies. It really is that simple. Women get abortions for all kinds of reasons. They may have cancer, heart disease, autoimmune diseases, ectopic pregnancies where the fetus gets lodged inside. They miscarry, but the fetus doesn't come out and it gets infected and it could kill the woman. Abortion is not an option any longer for those women. They may die because they no longer have control over their bodies. So, and here's the thing. You don't get to tell me that you're pro-life if you voted against mental health care, if you vote against immigration bills that support asylum rights for people who are being harmed in their own countries. You vote against feeding children, if you vote against health care, if you vote against common sense gun regulations that save people's lives, most notably children. If you favor the death penalty, you don't get to say you're pro-life. There's this nun, her Benedictine nun, her name was Sister Joan Chittister. I read this quote years ago, and I thought it was really interesting. She said, I'm going to read this. I do not believe that just because you're opposed to abortion, that makes you pro-life. In fact, I think in many cases, your morality is deeply lacking if all you want is a child born, but not a child fed, not a child educated, not a child housed. And why would I think that you don't? Because you don't want any tax money to go there. That's not pro-life, that's pro-birth. I love that Benedictine nun who said that. Okay, and the other thing, so none of these things are small government, right? They are government intruding into the lives of individuals. This is the government telling certain groups of people what to do and when they can do it. So what is that? Forcible suppression of the opposition. Back to the definition of fascism. Forcible suppression of opposition, regimentation of society. And I'm next. All you have to do is look at Clarence Thomas's opinion in the Dobbs versus Jackson opinion that overturned Roe. Again, I'm next. And if you want to stick your head up your ass and say, oh no, Kip doesn't know what he's talking about, you're wrong. Pull your head out, read the opinion. I am next. Clarence Thomas put it in his opinion. I'm almost done. Please hang in there. I swear to God, this is going to get joyful. And I know if I'm assaulting your beliefs, it needs to happen because I want you to disagree with me. Over 20% of prisoners across the world are in U.S. prisons. We only have 4.25% of the population, and yet 20% of the world's prison population, United States. 32 of the 33 developed nations across the world have found a way to do universal health care. We have not, right? So we're getting very close to not being a functioning democracy, right? Now, if I haven't lost you yet, it's easy to let this get you down, right? In fact, I think there's a lot of people out there who've simply stopped watching the news and they're just pretending everything's fine, right? I can't do that. I have been carrying anger for a long time about these things and I haven't been able to say anything, which is why this is so long, and I apologize for that. But this past week, I heard a news anchor say something that really shifted me, and this is why I'm making this video. It was an African-American news anchor talking to two other African-American panelists, and they were talking about voter suppression laws and the Roe v. Wade thing, right? And what she said was, all of a sudden, she listed off all these things, and then she said, you know, ain't nothing new under the sun. We've seen this before. That struck me. She's saying this is history repeating itself. We've been here before, right? Because we often think that this is like the downfall of America and the downfall of democracy and, oh my gosh, what's going to happen? And I've been there. That's kind of where my head goes. But she reminded me that this ain't nothing new. We've been here before. And she talked about Fannie Lou Hamer, who's this black activist in the 60s, the 1960s, who endured discrimination beyond what you can even imagine. And yet she fought. And what this anchor went on to say is she was amazed that women like Fannie Lou Hamer were willing to work to save a democracy that for decades has crushed us. That's what Fannie Lou Hamer, a black American, did. She worked to save a democracy that for decades had crushed her. In my mind, there's nothing more American than people like Fannie Lou Hamer. This idea that ain't nothing new under the sun, it's more American. She just, what's un-American, unpatriotic to me is putting your head in the sand and pretending that it's not happening. Okay, so I get that. I get it. Sometimes that's easier. And I've been doing that for a little bit myself. But this past week, I realized ain't nothing new under the sun. We've seen this before. And that brought me joy. That reminded me of joy. And so I say to you, get your head out of your ass, people. Jump in. Have a conversation, even if it's difficult. And you might find some hope that I found this week, and maybe some joy. Love.